All right, I want to welcome everyone to Startup Stories today. My name is Marina Daly. I'm our marketing and event coordinator. So if you don't know what the Conductor is, we help entrepreneurs and small businesses, with whatever they need through things like our events today, webinars. We do one-on-one consults. So any questions you have, even if you just think, should I start a business? We're here for that as well. So we're in the Makerspace today. So the Conductor powers the Makerspace. And everything is no cost in here, just like the Conductor services. So 3D printing, SLA printing, laser engraving. We've ordered a vacuum forming machine. So we are retiring the CNC machine if you want to use it one last time. But I'm excited to introduce Jada Hunter of the Roots Agency. She is a winner of our Minority Pitch Night this past year, and I'm excited to have her share her startup story.
This is such a surreal moment for me. I feel very lucky and blessed to have been asked by the Conductor team to come and share with you all my startup story today. My hope is that I can inspire at least one person, but I do want to promise that I will be authentic to who I am and put transparency at the forefront of the conversation today. My story is quite unique in a variety of different ways, but I certainly think that the way that I stumbled across my passion for digital marketing is a unique story in itself. So I wanted to start there, give you a little bit of background about myself, where I come from, how the Roots Agency got started, and then we'll move on to the educational component of today's conversation, which is what I'm calling the startup crash course. So it really starts with my roots, hence the name, the Roots Agency. I'm from a really small town in Arkansas known as Delight, Arkansas. It's about 15 minutes outside of Murfreesboro, Arkansas. And for those of you that don't know, Murfreesboro, Arkansas is home of our state's diamond mine. And so like a lot of people from small towns, I was really ready to get out of my small town and explore what else the world had to offer. And I've also always been very intrigued with learning new things and kind of pushing myself outside of the box that society tries to place a lot of us in. And so with that in mind, my 10th grade year of high school, I decided to apply for the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts in Hot Springs. It's also known as ASMSA. And much to my surprise, I was accepted into that school and left my parents' home at 15. I was about to turn 16 because at the Math and Science School, you actually live there throughout the duration of your last 2 years of high school. And so I'd like to give you a little bit of insight into my experience at ASMSA. I could talk about the ups and downs for the duration of this presentation, but really wanted to lay the groundwork for how much my plans have changed since high school. And so as a student at ASMSA, you have to pick a track. And those two options are STEM or humanities. And so STEM students took a lot of classes focused on math, science, technology. Humanities students obviously were more focused on, hey Crystal, I didn't know Crystal was gonna be here. Oh my gosh, Crystal is a client of mine. Thank you so much for coming.
You just interrupted your entire speech.
I'm sorry, I'm so excited to see her. And so I chose the humanities route and took a lot of classes focused on English, writing, language arts, all of that kind of stuff, because I thought that my path was really clear cut. I was going to graduate from ASMSA, I was going to complete undergrad really quickly, and then I was going to go to law school. I wanted to be an attorney and had wanted to be an attorney for the majority of my life. And things kind of changed for me really quickly. Also during my time at ASMSA, I became really passionate about social justice, and that was a very pivotal moment for me because it allowed me to understand the importance of equity and inclusion, and that's still something that I allow to direct how I do my work now. Fast forward to when I began my my undergraduate career at UCA, I was a very passionate and opinionated college student looking for a way to reignite my activism that I had found in high school. Excuse me. As such, in 2019, I founded what was known as the Roots blog. And the Roots blog was a way for me to evoke some open dialogue conversations about topics that truly matter to me. And so it had a focus on social justice, lifestyle, and love. And the Roots blog was a way for me to really use writing as my form of activism. And I wanted the Roots blog to look super professional. I wanted it to be a reflection of how important these topics were to me, but I had two really big problems. I didn't have any money, and I didn't know how to start a blog. And I thought, well, I can't really do anything about the money aspect of it because everybody in college is pretty much broke. But I was like, I can teach myself how to create some of the things that I need to make my blog successful. And so that's what I did. This is no lie. I took the last $50 that I had on my Discover credit card that my parents did not know I had taken out. And I spent that money on a WordPress theme. I bought it through a platform known as Etsy. You can buy a lot of different things on Etsy, but you can apparently buy WordPress themes on Etsy. And so that's what I did. And I spent the remainder of the money buying a domain through GoDaddy. And the domain was therootsblog.com. It's no longer active, but it once was. And then I spent weeks teaching myself how to build out the website that I needed, how to create the graphics that I needed, and how to come up with a marketing plan and strategy to make sure that this blog was something that was beneficial to other people, because that was important to me. My goal was to get 50 views a month for that blog. What ended up happening instead is within 3 months, I had over 1,700 unique viewers from 3 different countries. And this all happened while I had less than 100 followers on my Instagram account. And so I was like, what is going on right now? And what happened was I had tapped into the blueprint for how to get consistent organic engagement and content. And I did it all with a budget of $50. And so I decided to spend the next few months really perfecting my craft, and decided to work quietly with a few select brands in the Central Arkansas area to really see if this is something that I could implement for other people. Almost every moment of free time I had was spent trying to figure out what marketing was all about, what platforms are out there, how can I best serve the people of this area, and if I could do it well. And so that all happened pretty quickly and within a few months. And by February of 2020, I felt like I was ready. I took a huge leap of faith and I launched a digital creative agency. At the time, it was called Roots Creative Agency. I've now rebranded and it's just known as the Roots Agency. But I mentioned at the beginning that I would put transparency at the forefront of today's conversation. And so I wanted to do something a little bit differently today. And I wanted to share with you all 5 mistakes that I've made on my journey. And hopefully give you some insight into the fact that mistakes are inevitable. You are always going to make mistakes, whether you're an entrepreneur or a student or a mom or a friend or whatever the case may be. But those mistakes certainly don't define who you are, and they definitely don't define the success that you can have in your business. So with that being said, I'd like to move on to the first mistake that I made in my business. And that is not having any real sense of direction. I mentioned at the beginning that I kind of just put my best foot forward and jumped into it. And if I could go back in time, I would allow myself to sit down, make a plan of action, know what type of people I'd like to work with, what my end goals are, so that I can better move in the direction that I'd like to go in. I was doing a lot and didn't really know why I was doing it or who I was doing it for. And so having a plan provides a sense of purpose and direction for your business. And a lot of that boils down to having a really solid strategy. And we know that having a strategy in place can increase your profits. It can increase the efficiency that you have in your business. There are a variety of different ways to have strategy in your business. A lot of people will tell you that when you first start out, you need to have a business plan, you need to have a mentor, you need to have a lot of different things in order to be successful. What I would like to recommend for you from a communicative standpoint is making sure that you have a really clear mission and vision for your business, because once you have that, you'll be able to communicate to other people exactly what it is that you do and why you do it. And so, a mission and vision, they have really similar characteristics, but they differ in a variety of different ways. A mission can be used to establish your company's purpose, and it explains why it exists. Whereas a vision kind of highlights what you would like to achieve with your business in the future. And so I like to look at vision from like a more holistic perspective. Like, what's that one thing that you want to do to change the world? So if you're first starting out on your entrepreneurial journey, I would really suggest that you take some time to sit down and outline what your mission is and what your vision is. And then you'll be able to clearly articulate that to other people, and then it'll bleed into everything else. So when you're creating your social media content, when you're having conversations with prospective clients, you'll be able to clearly articulate yourself and what your business does. The second mistake is no workflows or processes in place. I should have put this as the very first mistake because this one is huge. If I could go back and I could only change one thing, this is the one thing that I would change. I jumped into my business and, I had the clients, I had the contracts, and I did not give myself time to properly outline how I was going to make things happen. And so, for example, I'd get a social media client and then not exactly have a plan for how I was going to onboard them, how we were going to handle content reviews and approvals, how long my contracts were going to be. All that stuff is, a part of your workflows, and it can really help you have a sense of direction for your business. And so workflows help streamline and automate tasks and projects, and it will help you minimize errors. And so if you have a step-by-step kind of outline in place, you know that, okay, I know that I'm going to do this exact thing, and I've already thought about what could go wrong. I've already thought about what has gone right in the past. And so you can minimize any errors that you may make without having a step-by-step outline in place. The next thing is it increases efficiency. And so as you move forward with your business as a CEO, you'll want to focus on more high-level things, and you aren't going to always want to be focused on like the day-to-day tasks and projects and all of that kind of stuff. If you don't have the right workflows in place, you won't be able to effectively communicate to other people, other team members, whether they are full-time or on a contract basis, what it is that you need them to do. And so that's another reason why these workflows are extremely important. And then we've kind of already touched on the fact that it improves communication, both with your team and your clients. The next mistake is working on every project and with every potential client. This is another mistake that I made on my journey. I kind of accepted every client that came my way. I kind of wanted to work on every project that came my way. And that proved to be a huge problem for a variety of different reasons, with one of them being my capacity. When you have too much going on, especially as a creative, it's hard to actually be creative because you're worried about so many other things. And even if you aren't a creative and you have a different business, or maybe you're just a student, it's really important to know what your mental capacity is. One of the things that my mentors tell me is you have to figure out what your work-life balance is. And I was really young and didn't understand that. I was in hustle and grind mode, and I still am, but I understand knowing that, I have to be okay first so that I can produce my best work. And so knowing that you need to have a life outside of your work is extremely important and will help you balance that creative and mental capacity. Value. Another thing that my mentors tell me, always under promise and over deliver. What do I mean by that? So, now I try to work with clients from the standpoint of, I'm not going to tell you that I can get something done in 24 hours. I'm going to give myself 48 hours to make that graphic for you. And if I get it done in 2 hours, then that just makes me look even better. And that makes my clients want to refer me to other people. So never overpromise and then underdeliver. Especially when you're first starting out, your clients are going to you want them to act as your ambassadors. A lot of your clients will be referral based. And so you want to do your best work. You want to stick to deadlines. You want to be an active listener and a good communicator. And the only way that you can do that is if you're honest with yourself about what your capacity is. And then lastly, prioritize. This is pretty standard for students, for life, for anyone. If you already have a lot of stuff on your calendar, maybe don't add to it until you can check some things off of the boxes. And for me, it was hard to do that because I was in grind mode. I was so excited to work with people, and I just wanted to take in everything. But if I could go back, I would certainly be more aware of what my capacity was. Mistake number 4, being afraid to lend your expertise. So I have a quick story here. About a year ago, I was on my way to meet a client in Little Rock. We were meeting in a boardroom, and I was presenting 3 different logo designs to him. He works in the logistics industry, and I was really nervous. I did really well with the presentation, and so after the presentation, we were just sitting there. It was time to have a conversation, which I wasn't prepared for. I thought I was just going to present, and then he was going to tell me which one he liked, and then that was it. And during that conversation that we had, he asked me my opinion of the designs and which one I felt like he should choose. And I was like, why is he asking me that? I gave him 3 different logo designs, like they're all great, they're all strategic. Just pick which one you want and let me know, and I'll make it happen. And what I learned from that is that I was afraid to give him my opinion. I knew which logo design was probably best for him and his business, and I was just too afraid to speak up because I didn't know if he would understand if he would kind of understand like the strategy aspect or how I was explaining something. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely make sure that I told him, you know what, Logo 2 is the one that you need to choose, and here's why. Because you have to realize that people are, they're paying you for your expertise. And if you can't give that to them, then you should reevaluate kind of what it is that you're doing. So yeah, you should always work to be your client's superhero. And the only way that you can do that is to kind of check your imposter syndrome. And this is really hard. This is something that I still struggle with. But I like to remember that I was hired for a reason, or I was invited for a reason, or I'm here for a reason. And based off of that, I automatically deserve a seat at the table, and I automatically deserve to have my opinions heard and respected. And then knowledge. Oftentimes, I think that the little things that I know, other people already know. And that's just simply not the case. And so a lot of my clients will ask me questions about really small things that they need help with that I, think that they already know and understand, but they don't. And so making sure that I have the knowledge and the expertise to be able to help them is really important. And then research. Research will be your best friend. You have to stay up to date on the latest trends and strategies, especially in the industry that I'm in, which is marketing. If you don't, you will kind of be left behind, and you'll be giving your clients out-of-date information and out-of-date advice. One thing that I've implemented now is I have what I call CEO days, and they're usually like on the weekends because I don't have time. I don't have this type of leisure during the week. But like maybe on a Sunday, I'll spend 2 hours doing nothing but research. And it's kind of fun for me because I'll get to look at the latest trends or the latest marketing strategies, read blogs, watch videos of my favorite marketers, just keeping myself up to date on what everybody else is doing in the industry is really important, because then I'll be able to report back to my clients and say, hey, how about we try this new strategy that I heard of? It worked really well for this company. Here's how we can implement it into yours. And then mistake number 5 is bringing all of this together. You can move on to the next slide. I wasn't being smart. And SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And so these are all things that I've kind of discussed in the other mistakes, but I've learned that it's very important to be specific about the scope of work with your clients. When you're sending out emails, be very specific about deadlines and dates and what you expect and what they expect. Even in your contracts, like if you want a deposit to be non-refundable, you need to say that that deposit is non-refundable. And there are resources out there that can help you, like the Conductor, to make sure that those things are something that you put at the forefront of your business. Measurable. This is specifically for people in the marketing industry, but when I'm working with someone, I like to make sure that I can take that project or that task and make it into a case study for other clients or for social media content or for whatever it may be. So make sure that whatever you're doing is measurable and that you're tracking those results. Achievable. Make sure you're being realistic about what goals you're setting for yourself and for your clients. That's kind of the same thing as being realistic and then being timely. And that goes back to making sure that you're not giving yourself due dates and deadlines that are just not achievable. Be kind to yourself and kind to your capacity. And I think that is the end of my presentation. So that really was a crash course, threw a lot of information at you. But those are truly 5 mistakes that I really have made on my journey. And if I could go back, like I said, mistake number 2, not having those workflows in place, that's what I would choose. But I hope that this information can help you if you're just starting on your journey, or maybe you've already started and you need some advice and some guidance. These mistakes are things that you should definitely try to avoid. So I think I can answer the questions.
Anyone has any questions?
They said you had wanted to do something with the conductor round.
Yeah.
Or did you have to limit that?
So it was, I won the minority pitch night event, and so we had 60 seconds to pitch our business idea. And I kind of approach website design in a really innovative way, and so I pitched my VIP website in a day, where I have taken what usually takes other agencies weeks, and I've created a framework where I can create a custom website for my clients in an 8-hour day. And so I pitched that and somehow won the event, but it was really great, so that's what it was.
So, forgive me, I came in a little bit late.
You're fine.
Another meeting. How long have you been in business?
2 years.
So now fast forward 5 years.
Yeah.
What does your business look like, and what are your hopes and dreams and aspirations for your business?
That's a great question. That's a part of the vision that I was talking about. So I certainly need to take my own advice and restructure some of the things that I wrote down 2 years ago. But I'd like for the Roots Agency to become a household name. I mean, I want, the small business owners to be able to feel comfortable with coming to the Roots Agency because we have packages specifically designed to meet them where they are. And I also want to work with larger agencies or corporations and kind of be the liaison or the bridge for them. And so I really just want to be the go-to marketing agency for all things social media management, website design, and branding, which are the things I focus on.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
How many employees do you
None full-time. I work with people on a contract basis. I have an intern that's coming in that I'm really excited about, hopefully in May. But I work with people on a contract basis.
have? There's so many different marketing agencies or creating boutiques in Conway. How do you
Right.
stand out? What's your competitive advantage over them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's another thing that I probably should have talked about is outlining your unique value proposition, what it is that you bring to the table. One thing that my mentors tell me is that you shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel if there are other successful agencies like yours out there. But what you can do is find something that they don't do well, or maybe that they could do better, and figure that out and implement that into your business. And that's kind of what I've done. I market myself as an agency that you could come to get top-notch results without the long-term commitment that other agencies kind of force you to commit to. And so I have stuff like the website in a day, and then for my other services, I have day rates where people can hire me for the day to help them with a variety of different things. Because again, different people come to you for different things, and what I was seeing is that I would have clients come to me and they would have a whole list of things that they needed to be completed, and it would usually take other agencies months to get it done. But with this framework that I've came up with, we can prioritize, and they can hire me for the day, and we could get things done pretty efficiently and easily.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So being in the marketing industry, what's your thoughts on like influencer culture and like where you see that going? It's been very big in the past couple of years.
Yeah, that's a good question. I am a proponent of the influencer culture. Just for example, I just worked with UAMS on a teleprep campaign, and we hired some local influencers to help us with that campaign. Because the thing is, we are overly consumed with photo and video content, and a lot of us want to see people that we can relate to, and that's kind of the only way that we will interact with content. And so I had the idea to have local people who are actually on UAMS's teleprep services. We did a photo shoot, came up with an entire campaign, and then utilized their social media to post that content. And we got really great results from that. And so I love influencers. I love what they do. I think it's very creative, and I think it's so cool to be able to have people who rally behind and support what it is that you support. So, yes, influencers are great, and I don't see it going anywhere. Yeah. So if you don't post content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you should. Even if you don't think you're cool enough, you are. Like, there are people out there who will support what it is that you're doing.
I'm sorry, I have one more question. So UMS is kind of a big name. How does small agencies that just starting get talking about?
That's a good question. How does a small agency get to work with a big client like
Your
a
network, you had a strong network.
So yeah, it's a lot of going out there and meeting people. And then, like I mentioned in the beginning, my clients became my ambassadors. I made sure that I did really great work for people. Sometimes I did a lot of work for free. And then the word just kind of spread. So I just made sure that I knew what I was doing, what I was talking about, and my clients spread the word for me.